Hi, everyone. Welcome to Smoke Signals, sponsored by All Smiles Dentistry. I'm not Matt Montgomery. I'm Lee Traylor, and I'm here with head football coach and athletic director Jason Holman. Coach, tough first week in Sulphur Springs. They got the win 21-6. Your overall thoughts on the game?
I thought we had plenty of opportunity to win the football game. And the biggest, I won't say question, but the biggest thing I wanted to see going into the game was, would we fight for 4 quarters? And coming out of the game, that I know that to be true. Our kids fought the entire time for 4 quarters. We had opportunities to win the football game. We just didn't get it done in the end. So we've got to figure out how to win in those situations and make good on opportunities. Absolutely,
and kind of indicative of that, your offense struggled in the first half, but really fought back in the second half, moved the ball well, and there were a few opportunities in the red zone that we couldn't punch in and take advantage of, and a field goal attempt that didn't go our way. But maybe just speak about some of the bright spots on offense and specifically how they turned it around in the second half.
Yeah, so it took us a little while to get moving. We never really established much continuity offensively. But there was a moment in the second half. We kicked off to them. We held them 3 and out, made them force the punt. And then we got the ground game going pretty good and got the ball all the way down to the 1 and could not get it in on 4th down. And, if we convert that play and we score at that point, there's no telling how the game ends up because momentum has swung to our side. And it just seemed like all night, every time we got a little bit of momentum, it canceled back against us, whether it was the block extra point later in the game after we scored, just too many peaks and valleys.
One of those peaks, your defense, I thought was a real bright spot, played really well. Specifically, the interior of your defensive line, DeVarian Boyd and Caden Franklin, both had great games, and they really impacted the game. Maybe just kind of talk about your defense overall and maybe specifically those 2 players.
Yeah, I was pleased with the defense. We played too many snaps. When you look at it, time of possession, I believe they had the ball for 31 minutes, and we had the ball for about 16. So we've got to rectify that offensively. We've got to be able to sustain drives and keep the defense off the field and play complementary football. In turn, defensively, we got to get the ball in the offense's hands. So, I was pleased defensively with our effort. There were some times where too many 3rd and longs where we gave up first downs where we could have gotten off the field and maybe given our offense more opportunities, and we've got to learn how to make good on those. But all in all, we did, I think, defensively what we needed to do to win the football game.
And you've mentioned a few of these already, but some of the critical factors of the game, time of possession, you already mentioned 31 minutes to 16 minutes, turnovers 3-1 in favor of Sulphur Springs. And last week on Smoke Signals, you talked about the importance of turnovers and the kicking game. You mentioned the block extra point that they returned for a 2-point conversion that really swung momentum in the game.
Yep.
So those factors really seem to kind of decide the outcome, meaning time of possession, turnovers, and the kicking game.
Almost every time you're in a close football game, it's going to come down to those 2 factors, and we didn't take care of the football. Although the turnovers, were on 4th down plays. I believe twice they got interceptions on 4th down, and honestly kind of did us a favor by catching it because they lost yardage from where they would have started. But yeah, we want to take care of the football and keep it in our hands and keep it away from them. And we've got to improve in that area. And then in the kicking game, although some phases we executed pretty well. I know Davey Smith had like a 53-yard punt, which was a big swing and change of field position. But the blocked extra point was a big factor. And again, it was another one of those momentum-changing type plays that we want to avoid, and we want to be able to produce those on our side, not for the opponent.
Of course. Well, even though the outcome wasn't what you wanted, there were still some big plays, some positive plays. So let's take a look at some of the highlights from last week versus Sulphur Springs. This first one, big defensive play as Devin gets a tackle for loss on a 4th and 1.
Yeah, this was really big because they're down there in scoring position. They chose to go for it rather than kick, and Devin made a great play.
Yeah, and speaking of Devin, here's a great couple of moves to pick up 23 yards.
Yeah, just an explosive player, make somebody miss, and turned a short pass into a 23-yarder.
And another big defensive play here as Carson Shoemaker and Michael Miles get the sack.
So you see DeVarian Boyd and Caden Franklin both disrupted it, and the linebackers cleaned it up.
And here's some of that hard running that you mentioned. Joylin Kennedy here for 16 yards, breaking multiple tackles.
That was the start of the second half, and on that drive after we forced a 3 and out.
And then finally, the play of the game as Ryan hits Coda after he gets past the defense for a 43-yard touchdown.
Yeah, they'd been on top of us pretty much all night long and playing really deep. And I think respected our deep capabilities, and that time we managed to get behind them, made good on it.
Absolutely. So looking to this week's opponent, a huge rival for Jacksonville, Whitehouse, as the Wildcats come into this Maida Bowl. I know that they have a dual-threat quarterback. I know they've got a good running back as well, so their running game is good. But what do they specifically try to do on offense?
So they're very balanced with their attack. I mean, they were right at within, I believe, like 2 plays after we broke down 2 scrimmages in the game, within 2 plays, one way or the other, of being 50-50 run-pass. So clearly they want to be balanced. They do a good job running the football. They'll run early downs. They like to run and get themselves in favorable field position or down and distance situations so they can convert first downs. We've got to do a really good job of controlling both the running back and the quarterback. Both of them are threats. They run some read game where they'll pull it and try to outflank you if you're not disciplined and staying at home. So that's going to be a big key. And then in addition, they've got a good receiving corps, specifically 2 wideouts that are tall and long, and they'll go up and catch a ball, and they're not afraid to throw it down the field. So we've got to make sure that we limit their big play capability and just make them drive the football and punch away and not give up big chunks of yardage.
And defensively, what kind of scheme do they run? What will we need to do on offense to attack their defensive scheme?
They're very aggressive defensively. Run a lot of man. They'll be up in your face, pressing. We feel like it's an opportunity to run the football because anytime a team plays a lot of man, if you can get them turning and chasing men, then that's less eyes that are on the football. If we can break through the first level, then we have an opportunity for some big running plays. Obviously, we're going to have to throw it as well, so we're going to have to be able to get off press and get open and make good of opportunities when we throw the football.
And then finally, what are the keys to the game to get the victory in your home opener against Whitehouse?
Well, we've got to keep our emotion. It's going to be exciting. There's no doubt. We're playing a rival. Kids need to be excited. We talk about playing with emotion, but not being emotional. Not overreacting. We don't want the game to be like an emotional roller coaster where we're up and we're down. We're up and we're down. We want to be even-keeled. We want to keep our mind and our focus on winning the next play, whether it be offensively, defensively, or in the kicking game, doesn't matter. We just want to have that, next play mindset. And we preach to the kids all the time, if they'll do that, and they'll keep their focus in that regard, and you're never worried about the outcome. Your focus is always on what you're doing next, and that's where it needs to be every time. So if we can do that and take care of the football, and, once again, I feel like we have an edge in the kicking game, to be honest with you. They've got some problems that they're going to have to clean up. And we do too, but theirs were a little more glaring than ours coming out of the first game. So that, to me, gives us an advantage right away. If we can make good on the kicking game portion, that will also help, in terms of winning the football game.
Once again, thank you for tuning in on JHS-sports.com. Stay tuned in for kickoff from the historic Tomato Bowl at 7:30. For head football coach and athletic director Jason Holman, I'm Lee Traylor, and we'll see you next time right here on Smoke Signal.